I'm Bill Hemmer. This is Hemmer Time. Alex Azar, thank you for your time today, and good afternoon.
It's great to be with you and your listeners, Bill. Thanks for having me.
You have had one busy year with this pandemic. By the way, so our listeners are aware, we are doing this interview on Thursday afternoon. And I mention that because so many things can change. We had big news from Pfizer earlier in the week. Overnight, Moderna apparently is about to announce, perhaps within days or weeks, that it too is on the right road. What have these companies accomplished, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Bill, you said we've had quite a year, but I'll tell you, we've had quite a week. This has been Operation Warp Speed Week. We're seeing the fruits of what the president funded and supported, and I put together earlier this year to bring safe vaccines and therapeutics to the American people. You mentioned it. Pfizer on Monday discloses data showing that they have what could be one of the most effective vaccines in the history of vaccines, 90% plus effective vaccine. We authorize Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody to treat people who are at risk of hospitalization, to help keep them out of the hospital. We get that announcement from Moderna that they've crossed one of the key thresholds for data, and they're going to be analyzing that data soon to see if their vaccine proves effective as Pfizer's did. And then just today, Thursday, we are announcing a new partnership with America's great pharmacy chains and retailers to make sure that they're going to be our partners in getting people vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. 90% of Americans live within 5 miles of a pharmacy, and pharmacists are some of the most trusted people in healthcare. And so many of us, myself included, go to pharmacies to get our vaccinations, and this is going to enable your neighborhood pharmacist to be a partner in the vaccine program for you.
Well, it's amazing, amazing stuff. Pfizer, 90% effective. That's very high. I think the flu shot's 30 to 60%, so we're even above that. Moderna, based on the reports and rumors, is right around 90% also. Can you confirm any of that today with Moderna?
No, I can't on Moderna. So the Pfizer data is public. In terms of Moderna, we do not have the data, and to my knowledge, Moderna itself has not even seen its data. What they know is that they've had a certain number of events. That means that in their trial, which has over 30,000 people in it, a huge trial, a certain number of people that were pre-specified have coronavirus. At that point, the Independent Data Safety and Monitoring Board looks at those cases and says, how many of those people got the vaccine that got COVID? How many got placebo? That's where those numbers, like for Pfizer, 90% effective, come from, is that split between those with vaccine and placebo. But to my knowledge, Moderna remains blinded to that information at this point until the monitoring board takes a look at it.
Okay, so
I wouldn't put any stock in rumors at this point.
So you and I have been talking about this going back to February. I'm seeing light in the tunnel. And I'm wondering if COVID is nearing an end.
Well, the president's laying the foundation for us to get out of it. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but the foundation is there thanks to the therapeutics that we've gotten, remdesivir, steroids, convalescent plasma, now monoclonal antibodies to treat people. People are getting better faster and better. So, for instance, in April, if you were over age 70 and you got coronavirus, you had a 30% chance of dying. That now has decreased by almost 70% since April to today. We're getting better at treating people, and now we're going to have vaccines, just as we talked about, and in historic time. Imagine this. It's 10 months since this virus came to our shores, and we're delivering safe, effective vaccines now through our clinical trial results. But what's important, Bill, is that, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But now more than ever, we need the American people to cooperate, to bridge to that by washing your hands, watch your distance, wear your face coverings when you can't watch your distance, and be really careful about any types of indoor gatherings, whether it's indoor restaurants, indoor bars, or household gatherings, because we've got this incredibly bright future ahead of us, and we want everyone to go on that journey with us.
All right, so the three W's, wash and watch. I hear you. We're not out of it yet. Historic speed for a vaccine. We can all agree on that. What do you think that tells us about the virus, about how lethal or how resistant or how lack of resistance this virus actually has?
Well, one of the fortunate aspects of this terrible virus is that it's what we call druggable in the drug industry. You can develop therapeutics against it, and you can actually develop vaccines against it. So unlike, say, HIV/AIDS, which your body doesn't have a natural ability to fight off and build antibodies to resist and conquer HIV/AIDS, we have learned that the human body does have the ability to conquer this. What we're providing are the tools to jumpstart that response through therapeutics and then through vaccines to preempt and basically create that artificial response to help you so that you either don't get the virus or if you get it, you will moderate the symptoms and impact on you from that.
Well, you're listening to Hemmer Time. I'm Bill Hemmer. More in just a moment with the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Back with Alex Azar. Mr. Secretary, 3 more questions for you. Big picture, what does this mean? Some could get the vaccine within a month, if I read this correctly. If the study holds, when in 2021 would everyone get it?
So, of course, everything is dependent on Pfizer putting in its application to get emergency authorization for their vaccine. So that's number one. Number two, it's also dependent on the FDA making an independent determination that the vaccine meets its standards under the law in science and data to be authorized for emergency use. So assuming those happen, because of Operation Warp Speed, we have contract for 20 million doses of Pfizer's vaccine by the end of this month, and another 20 million in December. And then, of course, with Moderna, we hope that they have positive data and that they would be on a similar track. We are already manufacturing Moderna's vaccine to be ready as part of Warp Speed. We have said that we believe by the end of December we would have had enough vaccine approved by the FDA to vaccinate America's most vulnerable people, by the end of January to vaccinate all of our senior citizens as well as our first responders and healthcare workers, and then by the end of March to early April, enough vaccine across all of the manufacturers that we've worked with to have vaccine available for any American who wishes to be vaccinated. And that's on a rolling basis, of course, Bill. Mm-hmm. We're running all 6 of our manufacturers. We are running at commercial scale manufacturing now to produce. And so as it becomes available and approved by FDA and released, we'll be vaccinating more and more people. It's not like there's just a day and time event.
Sure. That's a 4 to 6 month timeline based on how you described that. Pfizer had a 60-day trial, as I understand it. It's November 12th. The news came out this past Monday, as I mentioned. When would Pfizer have known that it was this effective?
So I believe from Pfizer's public statements, which, again, they're a public company, so we have to take at face value what they say. There's important legal obligations for accuracy in their statements that they learned. I believe I saw that their CEO was briefed as of 2 p.m. on Sunday on that data. And then they released that within 24 hours the next morning to the general public with that. So got that information out there and we'll work with the FDA on submitting their application.
Yeah, Operation Warp Speed. You were at the heart of this. You broke down regulations. You committed for the government to pay for production and distribution. Pfizer is one of the companies that says we're independent of Operation Warp Speed, but they will not be when it comes to production and distribution, based on my understanding. Can these companies do this without your operation? Explain that.
No, nor did they. The Pfizer spokesman made a misstatement, and they corrected it later in the day on Monday. They are and have been part of Operation Warp Speed. In July, we signed a contract for $2 billion to produce 100 million doses of FDA-authorized vaccine and an option for an additional 500 million more with the provisions that I just mentioned to you about delivery timelines in them. That created a guaranteed market for Pfizer so that they would be willing to invest in this massive 44,000-person clinical trial, and also so that they would begin commercial-scale manufacturing of the product so that they wouldn't be at risk that they would have all that manufactured and perhaps we or someone else would not decide to buy it. So they were intimately connected to Operation Warp Speed and the financial incentives that we created. In addition, we assisted them with getting their raw ingredients to be able to manufacture. And we are providing the syringes, the needles, the wipes, as well as the dry ice for the final mile to help with to make the distribution work on Pfizer's vaccine.
So essentially, that's not a true statement then, as you clarify here, because the government gave Pfizer the financial incentive to go for it, correct?
That's exactly right. We de-risked their investment in R&D as well as in manufacturing, and I think they corrected that by the end of the day on Monday. I don't know why they said that, but I think it got corrected by.
For the full podcast, go to foxnewspodcast.com.